Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Drams. As always, I'm your host, Pot Stilled Matt, and we bring you the episode number 29 of Three Drams. And as always, a very big thanks to all of you watching at home and wanting to be here to meet the flavors makers and creators of some of the best Irish whiskies from across the country. Now, there are people all over the world, and I want to say Díomh Galler, Fáilte an Seo é. I am seeing people Fáilte ar Curas and Carja Dúna. So saying hello to all of you guys up there in Donegal. And our friends saying Willkommen aus Deutschland. I'm seeing Kevin and Tina already in from Germany. I'm seeing people from, we're looking at London. We're seeing people in from Dublin, from Berlin and Limerick, and a great spread as always. More coming in, more coming in from Germany. Always a fantastic representation from our friends in Germany. And then we're seeing Alan coming in from Galway. And of course, we can't forget Gary in California. So it's always a fantastic session to have you guys here. Wherever you're watching from, be it live or after the fact, I always have to say hello to our friends in Brazil and in Japan. I know that they watch after the fact because this is not the greatest of times for them. So it is always great to have you on the show, guys. Whether it's before or after the live session, it is great. A very big thank you, of course, as always, to the guys in Irish Malts who make Three Drams possible. This is, a monthly service. You get the whiskeys dropped straight to your door in this fantastic box here. But what's better than the box is the discounts that come at the end of the show. 5 minutes before the end, you get an email straight into your inbox that gives you a discount code on each of the whiskeys individually and as a package all together. So if you are subscribed, keep an eye out for that, because the eyes in Irish Malts will be able to drop these whiskeys to your door anywhere in the world where it is legal to do so. But of course, I know none of you are here to listen to me, and that's absolutely fine. But of those of you that I did actually meet, Provine was last week, which is the largest kind of B2B show for spirits producers around the world, and it was in Dusseldorf. And I got to meet a few of you guys out there for the first time, and it was absolutely fantastic. If I didn't meet you there, I'm sure we'll see you at Whiskey Live in Dublin or equivalent show around the world. But tonight we've got three whiskies, as always, from three great Irish producers. We have West Cork Distillers back again. We had a fantastic time a few months ago, just at the end of last year. And it was great to see them back again, this time with their 7-year-old single malt. Then we have the guys from a Hoscra distillery in East Galway with their Colla range. And then, of course, we have the wonderful Glendalough in with our first foray into Mizunara casks. So I'm delighted to be bringing in some Japanese influence into this as well. But as I said, we're not here to listen to me. So it's time to get your glasses ready. We've got Dram number 1 here. So what are we tasting this evening? Dram number 1 is the West Cork 7-year-old single malt, and I'm delighted to welcome Colin Ryan, brand ambassador for West Cork Distillers. Well, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on again. How are you?
Not a problem. It went well the first time, so I said I'll give you a second chance. But I say, welcome to the show. I see, before we jump into all that is good of West Cork, I see Kevin is asking about Cork City. I was not at Cork Whisky Fest, but I heard amazing things about Cork Whisky Fest. I was actually injured, so I couldn't travel. But I heard great things. So the county of Cork is clearly thriving with Irish whiskey, and fair play to Laurie for organising that in its inaugural year, and I'm sure next year will be even better. But going from Cork City to West Cork, Colin from West Cork Distillers, what are we tasting this evening? What can we expect from what's in our glass? Because I've already pre-poured mine, and it smells delicious. And I'll say I've pre-poured it, but I always get accused of having some special bottle. I don't have some special bottle. It's the sample everyone has in front of them. So tell us a little bit about it. Tell us about the journey that West Cork Distillers took to this 7-year-old single malt.
So West Cork Distillers, a little bit of a history. It was formed in 2003 by 3 childhood friends, John, Dennis McCarthy and Ger, and John O'Connell, and they were 3 best friends, 2 of which were fishermen, and 1 was a colloidal chemist with a kind of food sciences background.
What is a colloidal chemist?
I have no idea.
You dropped it with such confidence. I thought it was going to be some like rocket scientist thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop. I don't know what that is.
It's along those lines. It's along those lines for sure. So the fishing industry was getting quite dangerous as they're having to travel further and further out into sea in the early 2000s. So they decided they needed to change a career. And they had one love of whiskey. So without any kind of prior knowledge, they decided to set up their own distillery, start distilling alcohol out the back of a shed in Dennis's house. So they started distilling away, having help from all the locals. There's about 2,000 locals and people live in Skibbereen, and they've employed about 150, all ex-tradesmen, to try and help them get it work, make things work. They built up a few stills, and they kept distilling away, making whiskey, making vodka, making gin. In 2013, they moved to the Marsh, to Market Street, where they had the kind of first proper distillery. They kept the head down, been distilling 24/7 every day, distilled 24/7 until they moved 2016 to their current site, which is on Marsh Road in Skibbereen, and they kind of produce about 8 million litres of alcohol a year. So they have about 15 different whiskies in the portfolio, operating on about 14 stills at the moment, and there's 3 more pot stills going in now, and they should be active at the end of 2025. So we're going from 8 million to 30 million litres alcohol per annum. So we have, as I said, we have 15
casual numbers. That's playground numbers.
Tiny, tiny. So our newest release, anyway, as you see here, is the 7-year-old single malt. We've done a lot of kind of blended whiskies and a lot of cask finished whiskies, but innovation is a really big thing at West Cork Distillers. We like to try around and patent our own technology and bring, as I said, colloidal chemistry, bring a lot of kind of techniques in from that kind of world into the distillation and maturation process of whiskey. So this one is actually my favorite out of the whole whiskey range itself. So it's a 7-year-old single malt, 100% malted barley. It's distilled using exclusively Irish grain, all sourced from a 50-kilometer radius of the distillery itself. It goes straight from distillate into Oloroso sherry barrels that we've sourced from Cadiz in Spain, from a bodega called Tolerina Rodriguez. So it's an Oloroso sherry, so it's quite, rather than being sweet, it's overtly nutty. It's got a dark sherry, as it oxidizes a lot, so that really does have a profound impact on the whiskey itself. So it spends 4 years in those sherry barrels, some of which are about 50 to 60 years old. And they've had to be kind of calibrated to work because they've buckled a lot under the heat of southwest Spain. As you could imagine, Cadiz is a very hot place. So we've kind of recoopered those casks. So after 4 years, we then kind of finish it for another 3 years in ex-bourbon barrels from Kelvin Cooper's in Kentucky.
So it does the reverse of most. It starts in sherry and then goes into bourbon.
That's exactly it, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to have a little swirl of the glass. I'm going to say sláinte it. And have a little sip. So let us know in the comment section what you're tasting as we have our first sip of this now.
So I get a lot of malt, obviously a lot of biscuity notes from the malt, kind of red berries. I really get like kind of marzipan note, and also like a grappa. It reminds me of a grappa.
Okay.
Starts off kind of fruity, a little bit sweet, and then starts to dry out halfway through. And I really think that's the nuttiness from the Oloroso sherry cask coming through.
I mean, it's very fragrant. It's very unique kind of profile to it as well. It is, it's a very nutty, as you said, that kind of, it's dry, but yet not astringent. It's kind of almost like cacao powder, like a hot chocolate powder or something. Not quite dark chocolate, but it almost like powdered chocolate, which is quite a very interesting one. And then just like a tang at the background, like some kind of almost like tart tang, like maybe it kind of reminds me of some like a lemon cheesecake or something at the, or maybe, that kind of flavor to it. It's really interesting whiskey. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's very unlike a lot of other whiskies on the market, and I like the maturation is quite backwards to tradition, which is good
Yeah.
too. I like.
Yeah, on the nose, you don't think Irish. You don't think Irish whiskey on the nose. It's a kind of like a complex, rich aromas there. I really get the marzipan and the malt coming through, and kind of light citrus, as you said, like a lemon cake.
It's funny because the more I dive my nose into this, what it's really reminding me of is walking into bodegas in Jerez. That it's the sherry, the wood. There's almost like a mustiness to it, but not a negative quality, but just that kind of like the old wood, like mature wood smell. It's very good. I'm enjoying diving into this.
Mm.
And if people wanted to add a bottle of this to their collection, what might a bottle of this set people back?
We're looking between 50-55 euros. It won't really go above 55 euros. So,
okay, that's pretty good pricing for age statemented single malt.
Yeah,
especially with this big sherry influence. And let us know in the comments as well what you're seeing. I'm seeing Martin saying spicy, dry, and fruity. Joseph coming in quite spicy. And then we're seeing definitely get the marzipan. The finish is lovely, dry sherry influence for sure. And then Marissa's are agreeing with each other on the tang of lemon, like a lemon biscuit. Yeah, I see that. It's and then on the tremendous value. Now, Colm, there's someone echoing my sentiments. 55 euros is good in today's market for an age statemented single malt, and all distilled in West Cork. I'm assuming. I doubt anything else would come out of there, but just to check.
Yeah, all distilled in West Cork, exclusive from Irish grain. I mean, we have a lot of casks there. We buy about 45 to 50,000 casks a year. So I think on site we've about 60,000 casks there. So we tend to use like Heaven Hills Distillery and Kelvin Cooperage, their bourbon casks as well. So that kind of we tend to use the kind of the cheapest bourbon cask possible because they've got the most life left in them. So they really add and impart that kind of flavor on. So I think especially with this one, the bourbon cask does have a kind of an influence in that kind of spicy caramelized sweetness that you get, those notes that you get in it as well.
Okay.
But back to like the value, we try to make the kind of best possible liquor we can for an affordable value. So it's a whiskey that's all West Cork should be available to everyone, you know.
And if people were looking around the world, are there specific places that you'd be able to find this in export?
Yeah, Germany. We're available in Germany at the moment. With just got in with the new SKUs, the 5-year-old pot still and the 7 that we had on the last show. It's available in Kirsch whiskey. Kirschwhiskey.de is available there. We're just in the States now, and we're obviously in the UK. Poland, so we're distributing to about 70 countries, so it'll be only a matter of a few months before we have the new SKUs available in all our kind of retailers and wholesale.
That's fantastic. And of course, if you can't find these SKUs anywhere in your locality, ask first of all in your off licenses. Off licenses don't take in whiskies or SKUs that people aren't asking for. So go bug your local quality off license or liquor store, and then secondly, find it on Irish Malt, and they'll ship it right to your door. Where illegal to do so. And yeah, I think we said last time that I was walking down some random street in Kyoto in Japan, and I popped into a little liquor store, and it was like Tullamore Dew, Bushmills, and about 18 West Cork SKUs. So definitely a whiskey you can find around the world. And Tina is saying that West Cork is a really good availability in Germany. So that's always good to hear. And also, Tina, do you notice he said Germany first? You better have noticed he said Germany first. The show has become, where can Tina get the whiskeys from? But absolutely fantastic. And is this going to be kind of a range of continued innovation from West Cork, or is this just kind of building out the core range at the moment?
This is going to be part of the core range, yeah. This is going to be one of our main core range whiskies, so it will be available, yeah, definitely.
But what to expect in the future is to see this kind of throughout.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely, yeah. We're very proud of this, as in it offers something different, and you know, 'cause it's not quintessentially Irish, but we have just a lot of variance in our kind of flavors and the style we use, and I think this really stands out as a single malt, you know, especially for the price, as you said.
And if what give us a little sneak what the, or maybe not sneak, but a reminder of what the rest of the core range looks like, because I know you have the 5-year-old pot still that we talked about last time, but in most countries, what else would you see accompanying it as a core range?
Well, the core range would usually start off with our kind of original. This is our bourbon cask, so that's a blend. It's a blend of grain to malt whiskey. But what's really interesting about that one is the predominant grain is wheat. So we're one of 2 distilleries in Ireland probably to use wheat. I think ourselves and Waterford Distillery. So that kind of tends to a nice kind of creamy, soft mouthfeel, nice kind of sweet whiskey. So that's your kind of standard your blend, and it's a 3-year-old bourbon cask, and you probably see that it's the most common one that we'd have is like a red label. And then of course our black cask, which is another blend as well, which is really nice. It's been really well received since its conception in 2017, and that goes kind of paint along the lines of that kind of painting technology with the charring process. That's a 3-year-old blend with wheat whiskey as well, but after 3 years we put it into a really heavily charred cask for another year, which kind of caramelizes, sweetens up the whiskey. And we char that for, we say, a level 5, so which is about 2.5 to 3 minutes of like charring the cask. So it's completely black like an alligator skin, so it does have a really profound effect on the whiskey as well. And you can see that typically in your price range on the shelf for about 30 euros to 35 euros, so it's extremely good value.
Oh, fantastic. And are these the only current age statements in the range, the 5 and the 7?
Well, the majority of our whiskies typically are between 3 and 4 years, but yeah, at the moment it's the 5-year-old pot still and the 7-year-old malt. But we will have very soon we'll have some niche surprises on the way. So a bit more of age statements.
Oh, you heard it here first. He's I was gonna say he's keeping it close to the chest. But I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to keeping an eye out for those in the future. Colm, I appreciate it. If people were to go away with one memory in their head of the West Cork 7, give us the 10-second pitch on what it is and why we should buy it, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
It's fiercely independent and quintessentially deliciously different.
I like it. Well, my empty glass is testament to the deliciously different, at least. Thank you so much from West Cork Distillers. If people want to find you online, are you a social media guy, or can we find West Cork Distillers on social medias?
Yeah, all our products are available at westcorkdistillers.com, and obviously Masters of Malt as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all your time, and thank you so much. Of course, anyone in the comments section, if you do have questions as we go on, throw them into the comments section, and we'll be able to deal with them as we can. But Colm, for you, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks a million.
All right. Well, I am delighted with that. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely drained that glass. That was something I said deliciously different. I really enjoyed that. But now, of course, we always bring you some of the best new and interesting Irish whiskies. We're going to dram number 2, Iveragall. We've got the Colla 7-year-old single grain Panamanian rum cask. And I have brand ambassador Luke McAllister joining me on the show. Luke, first time on the show. Welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm very good. I'm very nice to be on the show.
Well, Luke, we're sitting here, Colla from a Haskell distillery. It's obviously your first time on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and who Haskell are? And I'm gonna show everyone that I've got my glass filled already, and again my little sample bottle here. So I'll be nosing in the background, and give us a little intro.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, we're a Haskell distillery. So we're quite a young distillery. We were founded in 2018 by my mom and dad, actually. So we used to live out in Asia, and my dad was in the corporate world. And while we were out there, we were in Hong Kong and Shanghai specifically. But my dad kind of figured that at that time, there wasn't really much Irish whiskey or gin out in the market out there. And it was quite sad being a whiskey lover and an expat, not being able to get a variety of different Irish whiskies. So after his corporate days were finished, him and my mom decided that they were going to move back to Ireland and start up their own distillery doing gin and whiskey. So my mom makes the gin and my dad would make the whiskey. So they eventually found this really old, it's like a wheat mill, completely abandoned between the 18th century, and they decided to refurbish it. And hopefully it will become, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, actually, it will be opening up. Production will be starting, and it will be Ireland's first 100% carbon neutral distillery. All the liquid flowing out will be made using renewable energies, and there'll be no fumes whatsoever. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I know you recently hired Courtney Vosh there as your head distiller there as well. So she's going to be running a tight ship, no doubt.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's fitting in very well, to be fair.
That's good. And I suppose from the difference of worlds, I guess from East Asia to East Galway, I'm sure it's an exciting time to be opening a distillery. And as you said, first carbon neutral distillery. How has the different ranges of the distillery's whiskies gone? Because I know you've Colla and then you've Ush. Is that the second range as well?
Yeah, so we have our entry-level whiskey would be Ush, which is our triple blend. And it's about 50% grain, 25% pot still, and 25% copper pot. So it's quite smooth for a young triple blend. And then that's the only one we have in the Ush series at the moment. But then we have our more premium range, which is actually a part of our family bond release. So it's quite limited sale at the moment. And that starts from our 7-year-old that we'll be tasting today. Then it goes on to an 11-year-old. We have a 19-year-old and 2 20-year-olds. So the 11-year-old would be a blend, and then the 19 and 20-year-olds all be single malt.
Okay, fantastic. And when did this 7-year-old come out? Is this a recent release, or is it have been on the market for a while?
So this actually just came out this Christmas now. So only about 2-3 months is on the market, and it's been doing very well. Out of the series, it's my favorite by far. We actually ended up, with the release of this new bottle, we came up with new packaging as well. So it's this, it's like this nice foldable packaging that you can see everything. It has the whole story on it. And it even tells the story of the Clan Colla, which is what it'd be named after.
Fantastic. Very giftable.
Yeah, definitely. But when it comes to the actual 7-year-old, I have my glass here. Sláinte. On the nose, you get what my dad likes to say is Christmas in a bottle almost. It's very spicy from the nose, but quite creamy, I find.
There's a lot going on in the nose.
Sometimes you better get a bit of vanilla and banana to it as well.
Yeah, I was going to say even a kind of a butter icing or something going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Marissa saying ginger butter. Yeah, I think that's the direction I was going with that.
I could definitely see that.
Very interesting nose. It's interesting. It's not it doesn't jump out at me as a single grain straight away, which is interesting. It has a very unique character to it.
Yeah, but then the taste of it would be quite different as well, I find. So you get quite surprised.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have a little sip. Let us know in the comment section what you're thinking as you're sipping along.
So for the taste, you get kind of like these dried red fruits to it, a bit of cinnamon as well. Get that spiciness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it finishes off quite smooth and warming to the heart and to the rest of the body. But you still get, even in the finish, that spiciness doesn't go away. You're still getting it. And that's mostly due to the finish in the Panama rum. So as we said, it's a 7-year-old single grain finished in Panama rum casks. And unlike other rums out there, in Panama, they create it with sugarcane. So that creates a much sweeter and almost a bit smoother finish to it, which you can really taste that when they're blended in with the spices and that kind of sweetness to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know how long the finish was in the rum casks?
So the rum cask would be about I think it was about a year, 2 years, and then previously it was done in bourbon barrels.
Okay, so decent finish then in the rum casks.
Mm.
It's a very it has a, as Martin's saying here, it's long finish for a grain. It does. This to me doesn't drink like a grain at all.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of the kind of the spry alcohol, but very, very interesting, very delicious whiskey. I'm having, and this is gonna be a fun episode. I'm now having two whiskeys I'm musing over the glass instead of conversing. This is It's really, really delicious. The rum has done a very interesting job as well in tying together a lot of those kind of more unique flavors. And JB saying love the finish. It is. There's a long prickle. It is a little bit of that kind of almost like sugar syrup going on. It's very interesting.
Well,
And do you know what the recommended retail price would be for this if you're looking in Ireland?
so it'll be about €65, about then.
Okay. And would you find it kind of nationwide, or is there, of course, Irish Malt dropped to your door, but are you in any of the kind of the independents or the O'Briens or anything like that?
So throughout Ireland would be in a few places like the off licenses like Carry Out, would be in a few other places through our distributors that I'm not too aware of, but we're fairly well like sourced in Ireland. Internationally, we're getting there. We've only actually been on the market for all of our products for about 2 years now, so we're still fairly new to the game. But sadly, we're not in Germany yet. Hopefully soon, though.
You're a good man. You're a good man. Listen to Germany now. I said, if you're a German importer, listen to this. You can get an eye on Hastra. And then, so I suppose, is there a plan to look more internationally at exports? Is there someone in the background working on those markets?
Oh yeah, definitely. At the moment, we're really focusing Asia and Africa. I actually was just in Uganda there 2 weeks ago, doing a few tastings and having a few meetings over there with the distributors. And then hopefully in the next few months, I'll be going out to Asia and doing a tour around there. But we do have a few people who are stationed here in Dublin. Well, I'm in London at the moment, but in Dublin and in Galway that would take care of the UK, that would take care of Ireland. And we also just got into France. So hopefully from then we can kind of keep pushing onwards into Europe, go into Germany, all the other places like that. So it's a
fantastic. And what was the reasoning behind focusing on Asia and Africa more so than Europe or the US?
So we're working on the US, but as everyone's probably aware, the amount of paperwork and everything that you have to go through to get there. So we will hopefully be there in the next month or two, actually. But it's always been like, so my mum was actually born in Zambia, so our family does have like quite a good like connection to Africa, as well as me after living in 6 years in Asia with my mum and dad has also kind of made us fall in love with all the Asian cultures out there. And being visiting and living out there, we've noticed that there's just like, in some places you could find hundreds of Irish whiskeys, but then you walk like a few meters down the road and you'd find basically none besides Jameson and the usual suspects. So it's kind of just to more get Irish whiskey on the market as a whole for everywhere out there internationally. But we are definitely working on Europe as well. But I'd be focusing more on the Asia and Africa side of things.
Okay. And does that mean your home base is going to be in either of those, or are you going to be out of London or out of Ireland?
So at the moment, I'm living in London and doing all my traveling from London because you can get flights to anywhere pretty much here. So I don't know if it's going to change from that. It might, but at the moment, I'm just chilling in London.
I like this comment here. Spectacular is finish going on for minutes. Ginger crunch biscuit, which I think you're right up the right street there. Absolutely. If in terms of the focus of the distillery itself, obviously just going into the commissioning phase now, what is the focus of the distillery going to be? Are we looking at pot still? Is it malt only, or maybe a mixture of the two? Or, you know, is there adjunct grains, or how's the production of the distillery going to look?
Well, we're hoping to do a variety of things. You know, we'd like to bring a unique taste to Irish whiskey, so in every way we can. But at the moment, I would definitely be focusing more on the pot still. We'd be focusing heavily on the grains. Koch, she loves all that stuff, so she's, you know, been whizzing away thinking of different things to do for us. But at the moment, specializing in one, I'm not too sure, to be honest. We'd be more just, you know, testing out what we can try, what we would like, and then if it passes everything, we'll throw it out there.
That makes sense. That's easy for me to understand. I love it. And are there any future releases that we keep an eye on, or is this kind of the core range for the moment with Oosh as well in the under category?
We do have a 13-year-old that will be releasing soon in the next few months. It will be releasing in the airports, I believe, first as a like starter, and then eventually it would be to the rest of whoever would like to buy it.
Fantastic. A grain or malt?
So it'd be a grain. It's a blend, I believe. I actually myself haven't tried it, so I've been dying to try it since it's come out. But hopefully in the next few days, I'll get a bottle.
Well, fantastic! You heard it here first, guys. I always try to get you little scoops from the guys, and I appreciate it, Luke, because I think people are very excited. And then I suppose just in I suppose the future aspects of the distillery, will there be tours or visitor capabilities at any point?
Oh yeah, definitely. So the distillery will be up and running for commission around July. We plan to open around July 1st, but we're planning on making an events building behind it. So we'd be having a bar, we'd have an events room that people could book out. We'll be doing tastings, tours, all of that when the events building is complete, which is looking to be around at the start of 2024.
Okay, so not too far away then.
No, not too far.
And if people rock up to the door and ask nicely, maybe caught to give them a quick look at the stills or something, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
you didn't hear that from me. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just swamp them in people showing up at the door. No, but I'm sure people are very looking forward to this, and also East Galway is a picturesque place. I'm sure that they'll have a lovely time getting there as well.
Oh, definitely.
And have your parents moved out to Haskra or
oh yeah, they live out in the village full time now, and they absolutely love it there. It's a big difference though, from Hong Kong to a Haskra, I'll tell you that much.
I'd say so, yeah. It's certainly a different life, I'm sure, but I'm sure no less stressful running a distillery than the busy Hong Kong traffic and. And then I suppose for people who are out that kind of way, are you looking? Do you have the whiskies in Hong Kong or the People's Republic of China yet, or is it on the way?
It's on the way. We have a few like runner-uppers now in China and Hong Kong, so hopefully actually in the next few weeks or even months we'll be there. We are in places like Taiwan, and we recently went out to South Korea. We're hopefully we'll be in Japan soon. We're in a few small places, but we haven't gotten there big yet. So,
okay, so all to come.
Exactly, yeah. And then by the end of this year, we're planning world domination. You know, so
that's what I like to hear. Fantastic. So, if you were going to give us the 10-second elevator pitch, or the as to leave people with the Clanculla 7-year-old, what are the top things that people need to remember about Clanculla?
I would say it's Christmas in a bottle with a nice, smooth, spicy aftertaste to it that would last for a while.
Fantastic. 46% available on Irish Malts. Of course, you get your discount code in the email inbox at the end of the show. And the price again was?
Around €65.
Fantastic. Luke, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Again, everyone in the comment section, let us know what you're thinking so far, and ask any questions you have. Feel free to drop them in that question box. Luke, once again, thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, we're going from 2 fantastic whiskies now to our third of the evening with Glendalough 7-year-old, the first Mizunara cask we're going to have on this 3 drams here. Mizunara is a style of oak, Japanese water oak, that people around the world will peak their eyebrows at when it's mentioned, and it's an absolute prick to work with, and I can say that from experience. So I commend anyone who brings it out. So after that introduction, Owen Cooney from Glendalough, how you doing?
What an introduction, Matt. I absolutely love that. It is.
It's an absolute product.
Really is.
It's terrible to work
awesome.
with. It makes great whiskey, and it's incredibly difficult. And I commend you lads for doing it like 3 times now.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute horror to work with. It's called water oak. It's waterlogged. It leaks everywhere. You have to paint it on like a twice daily basis to stop the whiskey leaking out. It's horrendous. People think it's all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not. The casks are like 10 grand a pop or something. They're ridiculous. That's why only you lads are doing Mizunara. You guys have the in clearly. You've got the old Cooperage senseis on speed dial. But I'm delighted. I can't wait to try this now. I'm absolutely buzzed. We've had 2 really good whiskies. Now we're on to Dram Iver 3 here. Glendalough 7-year-old Mizunara. I've got it in the glass. I have it pre-poured. I'm delighted. I am ready. Owen, tell us all about yourself. Tell us about the Mizunara cask.
All right, Matt, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. And it's great to see you again, because the last time I saw you, it was nearly probably a year to the day.
It was Provine last year, yeah.
Yeah. We had some lovely pints together, so we did. They were great pints of Guinness. But I'm not here to talk about Guinness today. I'm here to talk about Glendalough 7-year-old single malt Mizunara. Of course, I brought the box with me, and of course, I brought the bottle too, because it is probably one of the most peculiar looking boxes of any whiskey I've ever seen in my life. So it's a gorgeous, lovely box here. Actually, the bottle itself is actually wrapped in Chinese rice paper as well, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to break it open.
Definitely not the right country, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Japanese rice paper, yeah.
Oh, as we said, Chinese rice paper. I was like, it's Asia. It's not right, but it's Asia.
Japanese rice paper.
My apologies. That's my fault.
No Japanese rice paper. No. So I've broken up I'm going to break out a special one for you. This is actually batch 1 I have in my hand here. So, very special, Matt,
Very special. And I'm going to pull up a picture of the bottle here as well, so we can see a fantastic kanji as well on the bottle with the strings attached. That box is beautiful. Very difficult to get open, which means to protect your whiskey from anyone trying to steal it. It is spectacular packaging. I remember opening it for the first time. That rice paper really, really adds a lot to that presentation. It's gorgeous.
It's really great for a gift, and when you're opening it, you're opening something really special as well.
Exactly.
It's what it actually reminds me of. Like the brand new iPhone box, and it opens up really slowly like that. Yeah, it's engineered it like that. It's like a presentation all in itself. But don't open it up midair, right? Because don't do that. I've done that. So we'll I suppose I'll give you a bit of background into Glendalough, where we started, how we're going. So first and foremost, I am the national brand ambassador for Glendalough. I've been with the company since October of last year, and I can say that the pace is nothing but insane. So the guys at Glendalough are constantly kind of innovating, and they don't really stand still for too long at all. So first and foremost, we actually started out in 2011. So we're Ireland's first craft distillery. So it was actually 5 friends that got together and decided to open up a craft distillery. Now I'm trying very hard not to say 5 guys, because I haven't had my dinner yet and I'm starving. So 5 friends all got together, and they actually worked mostly in like creative design, marketing, advertising, and finance. Except of course Brian Fagan, he would have worked for on 5 Lamps Brewery, so he had a good bit of knowledge of building up a drinks brand as well. But all these lads had a a great knowledge of how to build and market a spirits brand or a premium drinks brand. But, you know, their knowledge, it wasn't, of course, it was the same guy with the guys in West Cork. It wasn't there just yet, of course, but they were led by kind of a passion. So started in 2011, the lads left their lovely corporate jobs and they started to distill poaching. That was the first spirit we actually distilled, which is, at the time, you know, a massive risk, because I don't think the knowledge for poaching was there, but it wasn't quite as, you know, free as it is now. We have bars like 1661, of course, catering specifically to poaching, like, you know. Then we started doing the seasonal gins, and then we have a wild botanical gin, and then there's like since I've been working in Glendalough, there's been a palpable, you know, feeling that we're well able to take big risks. So we were the first ever distillery in Ireland to put an Irish single malt into a Mizunara cask, or even use Mizunara wood as well, or Japanese oak. So this whiskey is probably the most peculiar I've ever tasted in my entire life. When it comes to the nose of it, it really is something special.
So talk
I'm
to
not
me
saying
about the
that.
nose.
So on the nose, you'll get that like nice hint of the kind of biscuity sweetness, the kind of rich tea digestives coming through. Bit of fruitiness and bit of floral nature to it as well. But again, the main thing I get off this is like a kind of dark, rich chocolate orange straight away. That's the first thing that hits me. And I use that very well because I've done a lot of tastings with Glendalough so far, and I've done kind of chocolate pairings, and I've found like different kind of like, you know, dark, rich chocolate oranges to use, and they work extremely well. They pair beautifully. But yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous nose to it. But a little bit about, I suppose, the Mizunara itself, and I suppose why it is so special. Oh, right, Martin. How was that? Was that a Moss Lane? I'd be very interested to know which one that was. Or it could have been distilled. Oh, it was distilled probably, actually. I think I remember it. Now, so with that, with the Mizunara, so first and foremost, it's a single malt aged for the first 6 years in an American oak cask or an ex-bourbon barrel, and then finished for a year in a Mizunara or Japanese oak cask. So Mizunara, of course, translated in English, of course, is going to mean water oak. So named because, of course, it's full of holes. It's extremely porous. What I'm going to do is just kind of compare the bourbon and the Mizunara. So, for example, if you want to buy a bourbon cask, it's going to cost you anywhere between €80 minimum to $250, $300. If you want to buy a Mizunara cask completely unseasoned, you'd be looking at minimum €5,000 starting price. An American oak tree can take maybe 60 to 80 years to fully mature. Irish oak tree, for comparison, 120 years to fully mature. But a Mizunara oak tree can take between 200 and 250 years to fully mature. Like, you can usually get around maybe 3 or 4 casks, you know, from an American oak tree. But you're going to get around, if you're really, really lucky, you'll get around 1 cask from one Mizunara oak tree. They grow really twisted. They grow really warped. So, of course, because they don't grow straight, it's hard to cooper. Because they're so full of holes, when you cut them down, it takes about 3 years for them to fully dry. They dry off in the sawmill that we use in Galicia, the same guys that Jameson uses as well, of course. So we're in good hands with them. But again, after that, it's so brittle once you try to cooper it. So it's very delicate. So, you know, one wrong move, bang, that's $5,000 gone down the drain. You know, so you have to be very careful what you're doing, obviously. So after that, then, once it's coopered, it has to be constantly checked and looked after and repaired over and over and over again. But the thing is, the main reason why anybody uses this wood, and as you said, Matt, it is a prick to work with. The main reason is actually very, very simple. And it's just simply this: more of the whiskey gets into more of the cask, and you get more of the flavor. And it's simple and as easy as that. And the idea is, like, this whiskey here, a lot of people, what they do is, when they first smell it, for some odd reason, I've done in-store tastings in the past at Christmas last year out in all the O'Brien's as well, and they would have said, like, is this a Scotch? Because they feel that the nose is quite intense on it. There's a lot going on. But obviously, it's nowhere near a Scotch. We don't peat any of the whiskies here in Glendalough. But that would be to more like the kind of punter, I suppose they would believe that. But then again, you know, what I like about this whiskey here is starts and finishes in two extremely different places. So you're going to start off with a nice kind of biscuity sweetness, kind of rich tea, digestives, what have you. It's going to dip down into something like lovely, deep, dark chocolate orange. And on the tail end, you're left with a little hint of coconut. Some may find that, some may not. I get a little bit of that on sandalwood almost as well, on the hint. That's coming from the lactone in the Mizunara oak cask. So again, like, it is such a peculiar nose. And it is like, it was one of the biggest releases that we've ever had last year. So it's a lot of time and effort.
I'm going to while we have it here because I'm dying to try it. So
sorry, Matt. I keep talking too much. Sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. I just like to say Sláinte anyway.
Sláinte, bud. Jesus. That is absolutely gorgeous. The finish on it is insane. Nice and lengthy. But again, like, it's what I do like about it is that the finish on it is quite complex. There's that lovely kind of the main note again is the dark chocolate orange always coming through, but there's a little bit of fruitiness, bit of floriness, but there you get the vanilla coming through from the American oak, but it doesn't overpower the Mizunara, of course, because of course it is going to be very hard to overpower the Mizunara oak as well. But it's a fantastic whiskey. But again, like, you know, with these casks, there's only one cooperage in the entire world that can actually do this for us. They're called Ariake Sangyo, and I'm definitely butchering the name completely. The pronunciation is Arike Sangyo. They're in Hokkaido in Japan, and they're the only independent cooperage in Japan that are left. The rest, of course, are all owned by the big conglomerates that all have their own internal barrel sharing programs. But and they only go on sale.
I'd be interested though just to hear as well in the comments section if anyone's tried any Mizunara cask before, because it's obviously quite rare. Martin also says he was at your tasting in Limerick. I'm gonna pick up this dog because she's
Limerick. Oh yeah,
nudging me.
No worries, no worries.
She's dying to get on the camera.
Hello.
So anyway, keep talking. So I'd like to know that if you're saying that one cooperage in Hokkaido does the barreling or the coopering.
There's only one cooperage that will work that can actually do it for us, and because they're independent. The rest are owned by the conglomerates, by the Beam Centauri teams and Hibikis and all that. So they're all going to have their independent or their internal kind of barrel sharing programs. But we get a nice, healthy delivery of Mizunara casks, and that is due mostly, to be really honest with you, to the relationship that the founders have built up with the master cooper in Ariake Sangyo in Hokkaido. Simply put, Kevin Keenan just rocked up to the cooperage one day, and he said, you lads make the world's best casks, and we're making some of the world's best Irish whiskey. How about we do business together? So complete stranger, utter confidence, just walked in and set up a relationship from there, kind of grew it from there. So they went out for a meal and a couple of drinks, and it kind of just started from there. So we get a lovely supply of Mizunara oak casks, due mostly in part to that relationship as well. And anybody can tell you, Matt, and you know this better than most, that this game is won or lost on close relationships as well. You know.
Yep.
So it's extremely important. This is a relationship game when you're in the drinks trade, for sure. You know. But there's a lot of nice little cool features of the bottle as well. The one I like the most is this little guy right here, this little red tie, little red strand. I was in Moss Lane actually a while ago, and this tends to kind of work as a bit of a conversation opener. So they asked Stephen Kelly, when the guys asked him, Jesus, Stephen, why does a little bottle have a little scarf on it? What's that about? And he said, it's not a scarf, lad. It is called the Red Thread of Fate. It's an old philosophy in Japan. And it simply means that two parties or individuals that were meant to be together, they're going to find each other regardless. So, of course, we were making some of the world's best whiskies. They were making some of the world's best casks. Regardless, we were always going to find each other in the end. That's the idea behind that anyway. I think it's nice kind of tying around of everything together. I like tying because a nice pun there.
Yeah.
I do love me puns. So it works really well. It kind of rounds it off very nicely, you know. But yeah, no, it was one of the biggest releases that we've had so far. Before you ask, Matt, I know you're going to ask me. It is available in Germany.
Good man. Tina would be delighted.
We have a brand ambassador in Germany as well, Eva Hand, and she is doing phenomenal work for us as well. So she's pushing Mizunara heavily. Which of course I believe Germany is more like, you know, is heavy on the Scotch side of things, isn't it, Matt? To be very heavy on the Scotch whiskies. So
I'm sure Aoife will have that changed soon now. Don't worry.
she will, yeah. She's doing the work.
Handy to have a German speaker on the ground, you know. Joseph has a question. He says, given the nature of the barrels, would you chance finishing the whiskey for longer than 12 months? And I'm going to throw this ball. While you tell it.
You throw that ball, Matt, and I'll take this. So
yeah, you take that.
The ball, yeah, come here. No, so we actually have finished. We've done more than a year. So for the 17, we've done a 2-year Mizunara finish. For the 13, there's also been a 2-year Mizunara finish as well. So we have, make no mistake, we have done more than 1 year finishing a Mizunara cask as well. On that as well, we do have a bit of a split between the first fill and second fill. So we predominantly will be using first fill Mizunara oak cask. So 75% first fill and 25% second fill. So you can really start to understand like how expensive this really gets, you know. Thanks, Tina, that you're holding the Irish flag up high. I really appreciate that. Can't wait to be back in Germany again. I was hoping to go to Provine, but hopefully next year. She did, yeah, she did. Yeah, she didn't let me in. So she will have hopefully I'll be around again because I love Düsseldorf. But you can kind of get the sense of how expensive it becomes very, very quickly when you're going to have predominantly be using first fill Mizunara oak casks as well. If you were going to ask Matt as well about the recommended retail price, this is actually
next question.
That is coming in at €85. Extremely affordable for what it is. Because of course, the second you're going to throw Mizunara onto any label for a whiskey, you're going to be looking at €200, €300, €400, €500 minimum. We've tried extremely hard to keep it down at €85 a bottle, and of course, it is available on Irish malts as well, along with another straight to your door, along with a whole host of our other products as well: the double barrel, the pot still, the wild botanical, and the rose as well. So it's a nice set of products if you want to get them all and make a nice little Glendalough wall for yourself.
You got to catch them all.
You got to drink them all. I don't know.
Exactly. Wow.
We promote safe drinking here, Matt, don't we?
Exactly. That's why we send you 3 small bottles. We're not sending you 3 full bottles. That'd be a different show.
I've only had a little sample of each one as well. I don't want to be going too insane, you know. I want to just enjoy it. Yeah.
Martin actually just said 3 very different 7-year-olds. They are 3 very different 7-year-olds. And one of my favorite things is it took me about midway through the Haskra whiskey to realize they were all 3 7-year-olds. Because as I always say, I don't do the planning in the background. It's the guys from Irish Malts do it. And I just approve, and we talk about whiskeys ahead of time and what we want to see on the show and set up, you know, to have, you know, interesting differences in the show, so we're not all talking about the same thing. But it literally took me about halfway through to realize that we actually lined up all 3 7-year-olds, which hasn't happened before. But sure, look, we'll have fun. John McCarthy, a wow whiskey. The trouble is worth it. Just bought it. Discount codes are in. That's what I like to hear. They are actually, yeah, they would have just arrived right this second. So guys, let us know in the comments section as you're tasting your 1, 2, 3 of the evening, which was your favorite, because flavor and taste is subjective. And everyone's going to have something different. It's always great to see the numbers come through. Owen, are we going to see you guys at Whiskey Live this year?
Yeah, I'll be man in the stand, Matt. You'll see me. You're going to be at it yourself, obviously. With
absolutely, wouldn't miss it for the world.
I have another couple of really cool things coming up. I will be in the Dirty Onion in Belfast. I absolutely love the way people up north name their bars. Filthy McNasty's, Dirty Onion. They're brilliant. So I'll be doing a whiskey and cigar night in the Dirty Onion with the second fiddle, because the 2 of us are connected onto each other. So it'll be 3 whiskeys, a lovely cigar at the end of it. I might actually pair them as an hour because it goes extremely well. I've done it before. I've tried it. It's comprehensive drinking research is what I like to call it.
That's good. Are you a cigar sommelier?
No, I have only had a couple, but I do know what I like.
Always important.
I do like the Cubanos now, in fairness. Now, so that's a few things anyway coming up for me. That's the first thing first and foremost, and then of course Whiskey Live as well, which I'm really looking forward to. We have a few more things in the pipeline as well, a few more releases coming actually in the next few weeks. Another one towards the end of the year, which is all I can say without getting fired.
Understandable. Well, a very big thank you to you. Keep your comments coming in about what your favorites were this evening. I'm getting a lot of 3 lovely whiskeys, all very different. But a very big thank you to you guys, and Luke, and Owen, yourself as well. Thank you very much to all of our guests and everyone who's watching at home. And of course, as always, a very big thank you to the Irish Malts guys, who do blinder in the background, getting this all worked out, decanted, and shipped all across the world. So to you guys, I say a very big thank you. 3 great whiskeys. I've really enjoyed myself, and have a good night.
All right. Thanks, guys.